Boxers these days are the real deal. Now, you've probably heard of the two fights that are the talk of the town these days. That's right, we're talking about Ryan Garcia and Gervonta Davis. The two up-and-comers have some serious potential, and it's pretty difficult to say who's the stronger athlete. Everyone's favorite promoter just had his say though, and his answer might surprise you. Here's why Eddie Hearn says he would prefer to sign Davis. That's right, Eddie Hearn sides with Tank. The Brits at it again. Hearn never stays far away from the spotlight, and honestly, we're pretty glad that he doesn't. The world of boxing just wouldn't be the same without him. The promoter recently sat down for a game of Would You Rather with Daz and Boxing, and it was a pretty fun interview. Of course, Hearn was asked whether he'd sign Ryan Garcia or Gervonta Davis, and his answer was pretty surprising. The British promoter explained that even though Garcia is a bigger star right now, he's not really a match for Davis. Hearn thinks Davis is the better fighter, and Garcia's following isn't going to help him in the ring. That's pretty logical if you ask us. And this guy knows what he's talking about. He's represented boxing legends like Canelo, Anthony Joshua, and Alexander Usyk after all. We all know Hearn likes a good paycheck, and Garcia has a massive following. That's why it's pretty surprising to hear Hearn dissing the boxer in public like this. It'll definitely make signing Garcia more difficult down the line, and that's money down the drain. Seriously, this guy is legit. They don't call him Tank for nothing. Right now, it feels like Davis is on his way to becoming one of the biggest names in boxing. The rising star just headlined his fourth pay-per-view when he beat Rolly Romero, and he's already a 3-division world champion. The man has a flawless 27-0 record, and 25 of those were knockouts. But as good as his record is, Tank still has a way to go before he can be compared to the greats. Sure, he ended Rolly's record-breaking 14-match streak, but it honestly wasn't much of a surprise. Everyone knows Davis was already the favorite in that bout, and Romero fell just like fans were expecting. That brings us to our next question, and it's a pretty important one. But which of Davis's wins makes him better than Garcia in Hearn's eyes? You might argue that he also beat a seasoned expert in Leo Santa Cruz. Tank pretty much shocked the world when he knocked the older boxer out in their 2020 match. The match was his claim to fame, and he definitely made the most out of that opportunity. But the thing is, Santa Cruz was fighting above his natural weight. The man spent his entire career fighting in the featherweight, bantamweight, and super bantamweight divisions, so a jump up to lightweight was obviously going to put him at a disadvantage. What's more, Santa Cruz was never known for being a hard hitter. That meant he was never going to pose a threat to a Goliath like Gervonta. And you could say the same about Davis's other major fight, the match against Yuri Ortiz Gamboa. The Cyclone from Guantanamo was way past his prime when he went up against Tank, and he definitely showed it during the match. Get this, he took Davis to the 12th round even with a leg injury. Honestly, there's no big fighter in Davis's resume. Does that mean Hearn was wrong to pick him over Garcia? Well, not necessarily. Both Santa Cruz and Gamboa were on major winning streaks before they took on Tank. That means Davis has made a habit of knocking out the competition, which is probably what Hearn loves about him. Listen to this. Of Tank's 25 knockouts, 12 were against opponents who hadn't been knocked out in their careers until that point. Now that's what we call power. Seriously, Garcia might be a little overrated. The biggest thing driving Hearn away is Garcia's terrible attitude. You probably know that he parted ways with his old coach, Eddie Reynoso. That guy trained legends like Canelo Alvarez, so Garcia must have had some serious ego problems to drive him away. Eddie Hearn probably knows the whole story, and that was probably a major factor in his comments. But that's not everything we should consider. Hearn probably also thinks Garcia's obsession with social media would be a bit of a drawback in a proper fight. The boxer has a staggering 8.9 million followers on Instagram, which is more than any other professional boxer. He's also extremely into sponsorships, which you'll know if you've ever seen his Gatorade commercials. Critics have called him a social media influencer in the past, and it's pretty clear that's what made Hearn pick Davis. Garcia just doesn't have the same level of focus. But could Davis really go up against Garcia? The Mexican is still a pretty formidable opponent after all. He actually called Davis out for a blockbuster match after Tank beat Rolly. Honestly, a one-on-one might be the only way to decide which of these fighters is the better boxer, and it would be a perfect matchup. We're sure both their promoters will be able to make it a match to remember. Floyd Mayweather, Davis's promoter, definitely doesn't play around when it comes to the hype, and De La Hoya, Garcia's promoter, has even said he'd be open to fighting Mayweather after the match. He called the fixture the Super Bowl of boxing, and we totally agree with that comparison. These two are basically destined to lock horns in the future. future, and we can't wait to see what happens. We'll have to wait until the match to see if Hearn was right. And now here's some other news from the world of boxing. First up, Richard Torres just made some shocking claims. The fight between Anthony Joshua and Alexander Usyk is most definitely the biggest boxing match of the year. Joshua will be meeting Usyk for a rematch after losing his WBA, IBF, WBO, and IBO heavyweight titles to the Ukrainian last year. And Olympic silver medalist Richard Torres has advised the former champion to train with him ahead of the epic fight. Torres gave an interview in which he claimed that his fighting style is very similar to that of Usyk, since both of them are southpaws and have a high-intensity approach. He's even offered himself up as a sparring partner for Joshua, in case the former champion wants a left-handed training buddy. After winning a silver at the 2020 Olympics, Torres went on to sign a pro contract with the US promotional company Top Rank. The American has had only one game so far. That was against Alan Melson, which Torres won via knockout in the second round. He would definitely be a great sparring partner for Joshua, so let's hope he gets a call from the legend. Secondly, Frank Warren is hinting at Deontay Wilder's return. It looks like the Bronze Bomber is about to make a return to the ring. The Beast seemingly disappeared after getting knocked out by Tyson Fury for the second time. A loss like that probably hurt Wilder because he had an awesome record before taking on the Gypsy King. Before that fight, Wilder had never lost a match. After that sad day, fans thought Wilder had called it quits, but Warren just stepped in with some positive news. Warren has stated that the Bronze Bomber will be making his return against 38-year-old Robert Helenius in October. Though Warren said he'd like to see Wilder go up against Joe Juggernaut Joyce, he says it'd be too early for Wilder after his defeat against Fury. We definitely want to see that matchup in the future though. We'll just have to wait and see what the Bronze Bomber has to say about his return. Let's hope he's got some good news in store for us. And finally, Tyson Fury has told fans why he thinks it's time to retire. It's pretty scary to think that Tyson might be out of our lives soon. The man has defined the word champion for an entire generation after all. His humility and great sportsmanship make him a true legend of the sport, and his terrific record definitely helps. Unfortunately for fans, it looks like we're nearing the end of an era in boxing. The Gypsy King has blamed his 2 bouts against Deontay Wilder for his retirement. Wilder is basically Fury's biggest rival, so that makes a ton of sense. Tyson said that he suffered a concussion and lumps on his head from Wilder's punches, and those have got to sting. That's why the 33-year-old is considering early retirement. That said, Fury hasn't vacated his WBC title just yet. It looks like he's waiting to see if Joshua wins against Usyk in August. If Usyk wins again, Fury will probably retire for good. If he doesn't, he might enter the ring one more time. Either way, Tyson Fury has done enough to etch his name into the history books. We're glad we got to see him in the ring. That's a wrap for this video. What do you think of Hearn's comments? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.